Thank you for having me here. Haven't been doing much talking in CEO forums of late. In fact, the last few months have been very hectic. Politicking and mostly giving political speeches. So this is a huge break and a huge relief for me as well. Thank you for having me here. Firstly, Hari, thanks for inviting me to this CEO forum. And firstly, when got the invitation, had no idea that you guys had a parallel underground network, literally, so to speak, running, and it was happening, the forum was happening right here in Hyderabad. And secondly, unfortunately, I don't have a written speech because I did not really come here prepared to speak. I was only told that I would be interacting with you a bit and then handing out a few bouquets and awards and things like that. So I don't really have a written speech, but I do have a few things to say though. Thank you to the distinguished gathering, to all the CEOs, to possibly their spouses and to their partners and to everyone who's gathered here. Welcome to Hyderabad. For those of you who are not from Hyderabad, this wonderful city of ours is a brilliant host to a number of events. In fact, we're second only to Delhi on Ajit. We're second only to Delhi on in terms of MICE events that happen in India. So we are a city that is happening. We call it Happening Hyderabad, so welcome. And I hope in the last couple of days you've experienced a bit of biryani, experienced a bit of khubani, and also have had the good fortune to flaunt your sherwani. If you didn't bring them with you, I don't know, but if you did, I hope you've had the privilege and luxury of wearing one of those as well. Many thanks. Just wanted to share a couple of things with you. One, the theme of your forum is Go Beyond, Aspire to Inspire. When I saw this after I walked in, the only thing I could think of in terms of what I could say to you, in terms of just leaving you with a few thoughts, is the story of our Honorable Chief Minister and his fight and his relentless battle to achieve this state called Telangana. About 18 years ago, in 2001, April, when our Honorable Chief Minister, now Chief Minister, back then a political leader, Sri K. Chandrasekhar Rao, had launched an outfit called Telangana Rashtra Samiti, wanting to fight for statehood for this region of Telangana. A lot of people, including those belonging to this region, were completely dismissive. Nobody actually bought the story initially. Nobody said, this could happen. When he was trying to gather support, gather momentum, when he went about traveling, touring the entire landscape, the entire region, not many people gave him a chance. They said, this is a pipe dream which may never happen. He kept, selling his story, he kept selling the idea of why Telangana and how this country, India, if you think about it, a country which had 30 crore people. When we got our independence back in 1947, back then we were 30 crores, but come 2001, we were already 100 crore plus. So our Chief Minister kept making a very logical case that India should reorganize itself, as the family grows. For instance, any one of us, when we are a student in our younger days, we typically tend to live in we tend to share our room with a classmate, or we tend to live in a studio apartment if you're a little well off, if your parents support you and all that. Then as the family grows, when you get married, you move into a slightly bigger apartment. And when the family grows further, when you have a few children, you tend to again reorganize a few shelves, you tend to reorganize a few rooms, and you tend to give one of the rooms, to your favorite children. And then as we grow, we tend to reorganize. Our Chief Minister made a case back then as a leader of agitation that India needs to think and India needs to reorganize. In fact, just to give you a snapshot of what he said, he was making a case saying, Uttar Pradesh in India today, if it were to be a separate country, it would be the 6th largest country on the planet, Uttar Pradesh, as a state. If it were a country, it would be the 6th largest administrative unit or a country in the world. In the same country in India, we also have another state called Goa, which is only 1 million plus people. So this huge disparity in terms of how we've organized ourselves. This was his argument. This was his rationale for the formation of Telangana. Nobody bought it until few years. Come 2004, there was a compulsion in Delhi for the party which wanted, to run to be at the helm of affairs in Delhi, the Congress. So they aligned with us, and we knew that this was going to be a coalition era. So therefore, in the coalition era, we knew also the numbers would be very, very important. So therefore, we kept up the pressure. We kept getting the support of more and more political parties in the political system within India. And 14 years later, after many, many battles and many struggles, we eventually had the entire political dispensation of our country eventually come down and say, okay, this is a fair demand, this needs to be accepted. Well, there was resistance without a question. There were a lot of doubts as well. But finally, on June 2nd, 2014, this dream, which was initially heckled, which was initially only looked at as a pipe dream, eventually became true. And today, I am happy to share with you, 5 years after the Telangana bill was passed in Parliament on February 18th, 2014, which was exactly, I think, about 2-3 days ago. 5 years since the bill was passed. Today, Telangana is looked at as one of the trailblazing states in the entire country on number of counts. Point I'm trying to make is, what might look as an impossible dream, what might seem like an impossible target, what might seem like an impossible mission, if you dream big, if you go beyond the realm of your own imagination, the realm of possibilities, if you start thinking outside completely, not just out of the box, but possibly outside of the ability, outside of your comfort zone, then I think nothing is beyond the reach, nothing is beyond the abilities of Indian corporates and Indian entrepreneurs today. The entire world is looking at us with a great deal of optimism. I traveled quite a bit. In the last 4.5 years, I was in charge of ministries such as Industry and Commerce, Information Technology, Science and Technology. I was also looking at Municipal Administration and Urban Development. As part of my job, I traveled to a number of countries in the last 4.5 years. I was at the WEF, the World Economic Forum, got to interact with a number of industry captains from across the world. And the one common theme I kept hearing over and over is their optimism towards India. They draw this oversimplified comparison with China, more often than not. A lot of international investors, they have this oversimplified idea of India being very similar to China. The example I kept giving them back was always, China is a country, but India is a continent. India literally is United States of India. The diversity, the plurality, the heterogeneity of India, if you think about it for a minute, is astounding. Everything changes in India every 150 kilometers. The culture, the dialect, the cuisine, the eating habits, everything in India, varies every 150 kilometers. So if you, in this room, entrepreneurs in this room, if you are thinking big, you need not even think, about drawing out a global plan and, wanting to conquer the world. If you're able to conquer India, the big 1.32 billion market in India, that in itself, because when I talk to all these international investors, when I meet them, all the ambassadors, all the consul generals, the one thing I kept, thinking to myself, saying to myself is, there's a huge market opportunity right here. We need not even look outside. We can start looking within. We can start wanting to go after local market, the local Indian domestic market, make sure we capture this first, and then possibly start also exporting and using this as a base to start selling our products to the rest of the world. So therefore, my appeal to all of you, my request to all of you is, there is a great deal of talent in India. Without a question, you all know this. And in a knowledge economy, in today's world, I think what matters is at one point of time was considered a bane for India, the population, today has become a boon. And most certainly, I think, with the kind of young entrepreneurial minds we have, with the kind of very, very talented, boys and girls that we have in India today, I do believe very, very strongly and very, very sincerely that our time to shine has come. Like they say, you cannot stop an idea whose time has come. And I believe this decade and, a couple of decades more to come are most certainly, rightfully, I think, going to be India's. And as long as we apply, as long as we go after our goals with a single-minded pursuit, going beyond our comfort zones and aspiring really not just to inspire anybody else, but to inspire ourselves. In fact, Varaprasad Reddy ji kept telling me, a lot of people here in this room aspire and inspire, but they don't really perspire. So I guess, a lot of perspiration goes into this. It's easy to dream big. It's easy to make plans. It's easy to come out with grandiose vision and, start laying out wonderful plans on a piece of paper. But when it actually comes to execution, you'll need the support of progressive states. I'd be failing in my fiduciary responsibility if I don't pitch in for Telangana here. Because after all, I'm invited as representative of the state of Telangana. So therefore, let me also pitch in with a few things as to why you should choose a progressive, a dynamic state like Telangana to invest, to make your future investments. The reason why I say this is because while it is good to dream big, while it is good to think of setting up a large base in India, you'll certainly need a strong partner in the form of a local government, in the form of a local state, which understands your ambition, which understands your limitations, which understands the obstacles that might come in your way, and is still willing to work with you and make sure that you succeed. That is where Telangana has done an astounding job in the last 4.5, 5 years. As I have mentioned, our Honorable Chief Minister is a man who comes from the grassroots. He understood when he assumed office back in 2014 that before we start talking about big things, before we start talking about pushing satellites into space or having our own huge agendas, it's important to get the basics sorted. We started as a power deficit state, but within 6 months, our Chief Minister made sure that we become self-sufficient when it comes to electricity. Today, Telangana, in fact, is a proud state which is the number 2 producer of solar energy in the entire country. When we started off, we only had 35 megawatts of solar being produced from the state. But today we have more than 3,700 megawatts of solar power being produced from Telangana. And we believe that it will definitely go up to almost 5,000 megawatts in about a year's time from now. Land is a non-issue in Telangana. If you're looking for a piece of land, Telangana state is fortunate enough to have nearly 200,000 plus acres of land with the government, with the Telangana State Industrial Infrastructure Corporation. So you can walk in, you can get a piece of land allotted and start construction on day one. Electricity is a non-issue, land is non-issue, water supply. In fact, I must quickly tell you, the Telangana government it has been a brainchild of our Honorable Chief Minister, has conceived a program called Mission Bhagirath. No other state in India has done this. We are laying nearly 140,000 kilometers of pipeline in Telangana to provide a potable drinking water connection to each and every home. Come end of April this year, 2019, we would have achieved our objective, and out of this 140,000 kilometers of pipeline and more than 100 TMCs of water, 10% is also earmarked for industrial usage. So as a result, wherever you would like to set up your unit in Telangana, you are welcome, because you would have a water supply connection not too far from there. In fact, Mr. Varaprasad Reddy can also tell you an example of how dynamic our government has been. In fact, he's ran around a lot of governments in the past. Varaprasad Reddy Garu, for those of you who are not aware, he's a pioneer of biotechnology. He's the man behind, production of huge number of vaccines from our state, and a proud recipient of one of the highest civilian honors in our country, Padma Vibhushan, and a man we all look up to. And he has, in fact, also come forward and has been a goodwill ambassador for us across industry, across several people that he also knew very well in business community. The last thing I would say why you should be investing in Telangana. Telangana today has come out with a new policy, an act called TRS Pass. Unlike any other state in India, Gujarat, Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Andhra, Karnataka, name any, I can tell you with a lot of confidence that we possibly have the best industrial policy in the entire country. The reason why I say this is because of 3 things. One, in Telangana, if you want to start a construction of your factory or construction of your industry, you do not need to seek a clearance from the government. You do not need any clearance from the government. You can hit the ground running. You can start construction on day one. It's a process called self-certification. We believe and we levy a lot of faith in our investors. We repose a lot of faith in our investors. So through a process of self-certification, you can start construction, and then simultaneously you can put in a piece of paper or apply online saying this is the nature of my business. We only need that information for regulatory purposes, because we need to know who's doing business in our state. When you submit an application online, we promise all clearances in 15 days. If we do not deliver on the 15-day promise, because I'm sure many of you in this room are thinking, I've heard this one before, single windows, timely clearances, 15 days, 21 days, what's the big deal about Telangana? The big deal here is, if we do not deliver on the 15-day promise, by statute, by an enactment of our legislature, on the 16th day, it's a deemed approval. It's an automatic approval. No other state in India, including Prime Minister's Gujarat, will tell you this. The third thing I would say, we all know in India, with all due respect, NVS, bureaucracy has been a huge hurdle to quick industrial expansion. All due respect. You're the exception, of course. In Telangana, in fact, our Telangana State Industrial IPAS Act allows for the government to levy a fine of rupees 1,000 per day to any bureaucrat who is held responsible for not clearing a file within 15 days. No other state in India, again, including Gujarat, will tell you this or will make this promise to you. The point I'm trying to make is, for those of you who are thinking this sounds too good to be true, does this work? It absolutely does. In the last 4.5 years, we've attracted more than 1.41 lakh crores of investment. We gave clearances to more than 8,800 units. And we are a state that, in fact, was ranked number 1 on the EODB last year jointly with Andhra. This year, we are number 2, a close miss at 0.09%. I think Chandrababu Naidu did something in Delhi, I don't know what, but I'm sure he did something. J.A. Chowdhury would agree with me, I'm sure. He's the advisor to Chandrababu Naidu, so I had to poke fun at him. But nevertheless, I'm glad my sister state of Andhra Pradesh is number 1. If I had to leave that space to somebody, it would be Andhra and nobody else. So therefore, this is a state that is welcoming of all investors. This is a state that welcomes not only Indians, but all global investors to come in, to invest, to get the best bang out of your buck, and to make sure that you choose wisely, because we have everything going for us. In fact, the last thing I'd say, which I think my sister state